Let me introduce Maria to you as I see her. I see her as a elfin presence flitting in and out of a lot of professions. I've seen her on the ramp. I've seen her in the mountains climbing up an impossible slope with
I've
me.
seen her coming down that mountain faster than we even climbed up.
And I have seen her writing a book which a friend of mine who never cooks and has now started cooking because she has 2 sons and she lives in Shillong. She said, you know, and I'm interviewing Maria, she said, oh, please tell her I use her cookbook like my Bible. Yay! So that's it, and there are copies here. I'm not carrying one because it's heavy.
It is.
I'll go back and buy it. And then I know her now as a poet. Woo! And there are many things in between, but we'll leave that out. You can read it when you read the flap of the book.
Thank you.
So Maria, I'm going to ask you 2 simple questions before we go into the complex ones.
Oh my God, let's go with the complex ones. Finish that first.
No, tell me what made these poems happen?
So, I think somewhere in 2010-11, I discovered food. And I had to basically feed my kids and I didn't know how to cook. And I remember I used to try various recipes, and then I'd started writing a blog about my experiments. Somewhere in 2011, while I was already at 1 year of writing the entire blog, I was sitting one day at home, and I don't know how to explain it. I may sound really cuckoo, but I'm going to say it. It's like these words were just coming out of my head, and I had no idea where they were coming from, but they just were there, and I picked my phone up and I just started writing everything that came to my head on the phone. I've written both my books on my phone. I'm not good with typing. And I think it let out a part of my brain that even I didn't know exists, or thoughts that exist, or a whole new path that exists. And I kept writing, and I think I wrote till 2018. Some of them I would put out once in a while. Some of them I would just keep on my phone. And in 2018, I was talking to Deepa, who used to be with Om. And Deepa told me, she said, Maria, you've been writing, I've been reading your poetry, and why don't you send it to me? So I compiled about 100 of them that I had already written, and I sent it all to her because I didn't understand the process of edit very easily. So I sent it to her, and she read all of it, and she said, you know what, we have a nice book in this. And I was actually petrified, because for somebody who's never ventured into something like this, it's a very frightening thing to just let out there. So she said, okay, let's start with editing, and we'll take it from there. So I had Ipshita Moitra, who was my editor on the book, and she edited the 100 to 70. Then from 70 we went to 50. From 50 we went to 40. Then we cut it all down, because when I write, I just let everything out. It's like then something in my head says, oh, there are no more words, and that's when this ends. So that's how I write. I don't know a proper process of writing. That's how I do it. And we went back and forth with this. And then lockdown happened. And I had lots of time. So during lockdown, I rewrote half the book, because everything I read was yuck to me. So I just was rewriting everything. And I think till this it released in March. I think my last edit still happened in Jan, because every time they'd send it to me and say, okay, Maria, why don't you have a last read? I would read it and find 5 more things that I absolutely did not want to even look at. And I would say, okay, listen, I'm going to change it. Till they said, listen, we can't keep doing this. It's been too long. let it go. And I let it go with a lot of trepidation. But now that it's out, it's out.
You're feeling good.
I am.
The trepidation is
fine.
packed away. Yeah.
I'm feeling fine, but I don't know how to handle these things.
No, but tell me, I think it's got a lovely, lovely cover. Let's
Yeah.
start with the cover. This book you can judge by the cover.
So I'll tell you the story behind this cover. Like all wonderful publishers, there's no money in publishing and you don't get anything out of it. I haven't got anything out of it, and I remember when I told him what should the cover be, he said, why don't you get it short? So I said, but I don't have a budget for it. Will you give me a budget? And he said, no, there's no budget because nobody buys poetry books. So this is me in Israel on a beach. It's a selfie. Okay, and I sent this to them and I said, listen, I think there's an app that converts a photograph into a painting. So can we please do something like that? And of course, I think they got an artist on board who did a fantastic job. When they sent me the first one of this, I said, please, this does not look like me. Please don't make it look so lovely that it doesn't look like me, because otherwise I'll need a fan blowing all the time for anyone to recognize me. So that's the story behind this.
It's a lovely story. I'm so glad I asked you about it. Yes. Now, the poems which you say are life, love, and everything in between.
Yes.
There's a lot of love in it.
Yes.
And in fact, Veer Das, who's written the introduction, talks about, he goes on about love himself,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So love, we know, is something you cannot catch,
Of course not.
but we chase.
We all chase.
And it seldom chases us.
That's
right?
true.
But there is not just love, there is a feeling of having loved and lost that
Yes.
comes through. And there is a he, you know. Some of the poems I thought could be even to a mother or to a sister whom you've had a
Some of
scrap
them are.
with. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a he, very much a he, you know. So you don't talk about lips and eyes about sisters and mothers.
No, you don't.
So tell me, who is this he? Is there a real he?
No, actually there is not. Because I think there are a lot of influences that make you write a certain way. It could be conversations that you've had with girlfriends. It could be movies that have touched your heart. It could be, it's normally so many things. And for me, I'm going to say this, but for me, nature is my biggest muse. And so when I write, I have mostly written when I have been in the middle of nature. And I don't know, something magical about nature brings about a whole lot of emotions inside me. And so most of it is either on a beach or in a mountain or in trees, or it's all of that. And I think it's all the movies I've watched, the fairy tales I have read, it's the many people I have met. I think it's a lot of love that I grew up with or without. It's the many crushes that I probably had, which all came out into this book.
You mean to say you had a crush and somebody actually turned you down?
Yeah.
How stupid.
I know.
How extremely stupid.
Yeah,
no,
but
but so
happens.
what you are trying to tell me, if I get it right,
Okay.
is other people take selfies, you write a poem.
I write a poem.
Wonderful.
I think,
How
so there are
wonderful.
two things that I do, Sathya. It's like I feel that I heal with words and with food. And I think I feel both are a form of catharsis.
I was going to ask you just that. I said,
Yeah.
is she going to throw that mic at me? But I will ask her.
No, why? I think because I don't look at myself as a writer or a poet, I have to be very straight and honest about what I do, because I don't know any other way. And I really feel that everything that has come through in my life, somehow it comes out when I am I express in any form of art. I think it all comes out there, and I think it's wonderful. I don't feel, so when my editor first read it, she said, it sounds too personal. So I said, some of the bits are and some of the bits aren't, and I'm okay with any interpretation because I'm not worried about what anybody thinks or says about me. So I was okay with that. I was completely fine with that, which is why I think I was able to let it all go.
I think that's what poets do. They don't worry
Yeah.
about who's
Yeah.
thinking what. They have to sing, they will
say
sing.
what you say. Yeah. I sing terribly, but
But, I find that a lot of these poems should, if I'm right, resonate with the younger generation because
Yeah.
they go through these intense feelings of
yes.
loving, losing,
Yes.
getting worked up over it, imagining. I mean, I remember we used to have a column in Femina called Home Truths, where we would get letters saying, and Pearl Padamsi, you all know Pearl Padamsi?
Yes,
She used to be our agony aunt. And we
Yes.
would get a letter from someone saying, oh, he looked at me in college and I looked at him and we became friends and we were close, we were so close you couldn't tell us apart. And now he doesn't look at me, what do I do? And you know what Pearl would say? Forget him.
I love her.
She was amazing. She was absolutely
was.
amazing. But that's the kind of
Yes. So it's-
resonance I can see here. So have you? I think you or your publisher should make some effort to beam this to the younger generation.
So I must tell you, when I first got the copy of this, I actually gave it to my 16-year-old, and I told her, I said, read it. So she said, Mama, it's a bit heavy. So I said, actually, it's not, because when I wrote this, and as I've written 2 books, one is my food book and one is this, I always feel that if it's not easy, then it loses out on a larger audience. I said the world writes very beautiful prose and very beautiful poetry, very, very prolifically and with words that you need a dictionary to understand. And when I was writing this, I just kept one thought in mind. I said, I want to make it so simple that when you read it, you actually feel every word. And I think that's the only way, that's the only thing I kept in my head and my heart while I was doing this. And I have there's nothing difficult here to understand except love, which is so difficult and none of us can understand.
So did your daughter read it?
So she read a bit and she said, okay, I loved that. But like all daughters, she must have read one and just given me.
I know, I have the same problem. Nobody at home reads my books.
Yeah, nobody reads mine either. So I'm hoping all of you all do.
Okay, do you want to read something? I think you should read, first of all, the title poem, To the Moon and Back. It's quite a sweet one.
I have not read this in a very long time because I read it so much that I began not liking anything. So
instead of searching, I'll search it for you and give you the page number. Why don't you read the last one?
The one.
Easy to find, yeah.
Oh. So this, okay, actually I really quite love this poem. So I'm going to read you the last poem in the book. It's called The One. A relationship, they say, is like a dance. It takes 2 to tango, 1 to lead and 1 to follow. Let me share with you my thesis, and feel free to not agree with me. But I would like to differ, because sometimes it actually takes just one. That really special someone who stands in the storm, the one who does not fall, who does not leave, even though they may have the key. The one who does not give up through disharmony. The one that makes it work, who smiles through all the hurt. The one who waits for the storm to pass away and dusts the debris like it were hay. The one that waits for you to find your way home and always keeps everything warm. Tells you this too shall pass with just the kindest heart. talks to you about growing old together, and with you is willing to face all kinds of weather. The one who is the strong anchor many feet below, while the boat on the surface is facing a raging storm. Most of the times it's about a soul standing in the wings waiting for the curtain call. When the applause stops and the makeup is off and the audience have all gone away, if you have that person smiling at you like you are all the stars in the sky and holds your hand as you walk and talk away, you have the one who does not want to get away. While you walk through life, this role gets reversed innumerable times. But as long as even one of you believes in we, you have a chance to rework your magic till eternity. Thank you. You know my book better than me. So this one is called To the Moon and Back. And so they traveled miles just to hold each other tight. For all they had was paucity of time. She would always break his heart, he said. No, not completely true, she said. She would be breaking two, she knew. One his, one hers. But then he said goodbye and broke her hearts into fragments of a different kind. Because at that moment, she could not make it right, and he did not have the time. They both deserved a heart that could be home. She looked at all the love she held that only had his name, to the moon and back several times. She scattered it all around him, hoping the clouds, the flowers, a few parts, butterfly wings, babbling brooks, wandering animals, chirping birds, and the breeze that caressed his skin would always remind him, somewhere in all the chaos and din, a girl who had not stepped over lines, jumped over walls and broke through life's barricades because she loved him. But she has all the odds stacked against her, and time was never their ally. Was this not meant to be? Is this how the story ends? Well, I don't know. A little courage and a lot of hope make dreams come true, they say. But right now, he and she are traveling miles to the moon and back again, only in opposite ways.
The nasty line, the last line.
Yeah, it's life. It's life. Nothing.
You pull the rug from under our dreamy eyes.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the sketches.
Yeah.
Why did they go into the book? I mean, was there a reason? They go very well, but why did they go in?
So, so whenever I read something, most of the time you don't want a sketch. But when this got done, and it completely got done, I just felt it. I wanted a little bit of art in it because I also enjoy art. So I spoke to my publisher, and he said, you know what, we don't really do this a lot. So I said, yes, you don't, but let's do this because it's not going to take away, but it's going to add to the images that I already have in my head. So I sat with a few of them, and I explained to the illustrator, Sucharita. She also did my food book. So I explained to her exactly what I wanted, and actually this artwork was in process for about a year with various people who would just not get it. Okay, so I finally said, let's not do anything, and my publisher said, yes, I told you, you should not. Then I said, no, just give me one last chance. I said, let me just speak to her and see if she's going to do this. And I explained the few spaces that I wanted something, and she just did it bang on. And I think it just adds. It adds to the book. It doesn't take anything away. And when you read it, even if you don't look at it, and you just glance to the book later on, it gives you a very beautiful feeling. I don't know, there's a very warm, fuzzy
No,
feeling.
she's done a great job, and it
Yeah.
kind of adds to the mood, especially the
think
last
so.
picture
Yeah.
of the moon, you know. I
so
love
when,
that
when,
one. I
when
really
I
love
sent
that
her
one.
this,
Yeah.
I told her, I said, this is what I want, but I don't want just the moon.
Yeah.
It needs to
No,
have,
it has to
you know,
have a romance
flowers
to
and
it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
needs to have all of that to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So are you a romantic person?
I think I am.
Even when you're cooking?
I think for me, when I cook, which is why I don't know whether I can ever open a cafe or a restaurant, because
There's
I
no love
feel
in it, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when I know a certain person is coming home, and then I'm I always think, okay, what will that person like? How do I do this? How do I convert? So I think love for me, like I said, I express it in verse, or then I express it in food. So I think that's how I kind of relate to everything in life.
We've seen all these sides of you, okay? Is there another surprise somewhere?
I don't know.
You don't
Even
know.
I don't
It'll surprise
know.
you.
Till it surprises me. I
Wonderful.
love surprises, and I like me to surprise me most.
Okay, let's read Unforgettable.
Okay.
We'll read 2 more poems and then open it up to, keep your finger
Okay,
here
just a
too.
second.
Any one of them.
Okay, I'll read you my favorite one.
Okay, that's even better.
I'll read you Unforgettable, but I'll read you another one. Okay. So this one is called Unforgettable. There has to be a place where I can take my broken pieces to. A place that knows how to thread it all together with loving glue. A place that does not ask me how or why, where I smile a lot and have no more tears to cry. Where the shadows stay away and my truant mind is not at play. Where glistening dewdrops lead every pathway. Where I am caressed by butterfly wings and wake up to birds singing a new sonnet every day. A place where the deer and the squirrels sit calmly in the grass while wildcats prance a bit away. A place where shooting stars know my name and smile surround my heart like a strong, dependable frame. Where the mighty pachyderm silently walks his pace, my heart feels at home in this place. I think I'm going there, just me and my thoughts, all bare. I have nothing more to lose. I'm just carrying all my pieces anyway. It's going to be rearranged by the magic of the moon. And when I find my way out again, I will be differently beautiful. That's what the forest whispers to me every day. So come, walk with me. I'm lost. Hold my hand tight. We have a long way. And let me tell you, it's going to be addictively unforgettable every inch of the way.
One last question before you read your favorite poem is, do you have a favorite poet?
So I love Pablo Neruda. I just love him. And years ago, I was learning Spanish. And like what Meeta spoke about, it so resonated with me. Because I think when you read in the language that it's written in, there is so much more passion, and that, it's like, I think I just did very little smatterings of Spanish. And my friend Jaya, who's also a writer, she wrote this wonderful book called Karma. She gave me this book and she said, I know you love his poetry, but I think you've got to read it in the language that it's written. And so I have this book where on one side it's written in Spanish, and on the other it's written in English. And after reading the Spanish side, though I don't understand the entire language, there is so much of music in it that sometimes I just read that over and over again, trying to make sense of what he may have said before I read the English part of it. But yes, if I were to name one person, I think it would be him. In fact, just a few days ago, I found a poem of his that I really love when I travel, that I may put out one day, like hilarious stories about travel. So I may do that one day, but that neural pathway has not yet opened.
It will, it will, it will. Right? Any more? One last question.
Okay.
I also, can you hear me? Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, hi. It's also a selfish question. I came here today because I'm an aspiring writer. I took a, I've, like all people.
Hold your mic properly.
Can you hear me now?
Just keep it to your mouth and keep talking.
Okay, all right. Like most people, you look at a movie, you think you can act better. You look at a piece of writing, you think you write better. I had the same delusion. Turns out it's not so easy. So I wondered, as I start on this writing journey, I've done small write-ups, I've done, college, all of that. Came back to it very recently. Wondered, as somebody who, have you, had training in writing? Do you struggle with writing? Does it ever get easier?
So I have never had any formal training, but I think I should go for a writing workshop soon.
Come to me.
So I will come to you. But like I said, for me, it's a very heart to head to fingers to phone process. So for me, it just kind of flows out. Sometimes what flows out could be complete crap, which is why I was very petrified even when I was writing my first book. But the fact is, you learn how to edit. And I think after some time, when you read your work, you don't feel totally terrible about it. So when you don't feel totally terrible about it, that's a good time to release it.
But how do you pick a topic?
That's something I would like to remember. When I don't feel terrible about something, I should release it. Yeah, great.
You should not be saying all these
No,
things.
no, my own stuff I worry about. Thank you, audience, and thank you, Maria. Is there another question? No. Yes, I can't see the audience, so I don't know.
Thank you.
At the back over there.
No, okay, sorry. Can you give her the mic? Excuse me. Yeah.
I mean, you're nice and upfront, your poems are nice and upfront, but there is a depth there. And so at times did you feel in any way, gosh, am I going a bit deep? Is it worrying?
No, you've got to repeat that. I'm sorry.
I said you're very upfront, your poems are upfront, but there are times when it is very nice and deep. So at times did you feel, am I delving too low? Is it all right?
No, I just feel that if you do not have real depth, you can't really write with elan. And I think depth comes with life experience more than anything else. I think what we live every day, the people that we interact with, the feelings that we have inside us, the happiness, the peaks of happiness, the valleys of total blackness is what makes all of us who we are. And I think I'm an eternal optimist. I always feel that there is something really beautiful just around the corner. And I think that's what comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last question.
Put it to your chin. Hold it here and talk. Closer. No, the mic is not on.
Hello. Someone had asked about your writing journey, so I was actually very curious about the whole release process. So when you do decide that it's time that you need to approach a publisher, how did that journey go?
So,
And-
okay, I'll tell you very quickly. I did not approach the publisher. The publisher read what I was already doing because it was on my blog, approached me. The edit process was a very long process, and they finally sent thugs to my house and said, give us the damn copy, stop editing. And that's how it released.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone. Thank you so much, Maria. That was delightful. Thank you.